Hey, welcome on in. It is Jordan with the Bet Locker here to bring you another DFS strategy and first look show for week 9 in the NFL. Gonna go through some exploitive spots, gonna go through some stacks. We'll build some lineups together and see what they look like. Just look at stuff on early leans on what this slate is bringing. If you can, before we get started, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. It does help out the small channel tremendously. And like I always say, you hit that like button. It does buy yourself some good karma. You get some cashes and some good looks. So let's look at this slate. Last week, our stacks went really well. Those cheap CJ Stroud stacks cashed. What other lineups did we build? Jalen Hurts stacks. They cashed if you got it with Barkley, which isn't very popular. Obviously, Devontae Smith was the chalk, and he didn't do anything great, just did a little average in the teens. And then Naked Stack, which went really well if you chose the correct Naked Stack to choose, like, for instance, like a Drake May. If you chose him as a Naked Stack with the correct spots around him, it looked awesome. So the winning lineup for the Millie Maker was Tua with Waddle, James Cook, and Brees Hall, and Jonathan Taylor. And then just other randos, Michael Pittman, and I can't remember the tight end, but it was like a really random lineup. It was a cool lineup, but it was kind of random. So you just never know in those ones. But let's look at this week's. So obviously here's DraftKings, and let's just pick a contest. Like I've said, if you are just going to do 1 to 2 lineups, do single entries, because then those are going to be, or do double ups or cash games, because those are going to be more beneficial for if you're only doing one lineup. If you are doing multiple lineups, or if you're trying to max entry, then do the bigger ones, like the $20 ones, if you have the means to do all 150 entries or at least 50 different combinations. The $3 one is a 20 max, so that's not bad. That's only $60 to max enter that one. So, but if you're only going to do one lineup, choose a single entry line contest, and that way it's just your best versus mine. So let's just go ahead and grab any one of these. Obviously, the Millie Maker is the most popular for $20, and let's look at the lineups. So kind of looking at the spots, looking at who's giving up some good rushing yards, who's giving up some good passing yards, what the over-under totals are in the games, kind of early leans on projections on ownership. Looks like Patty Mahomes is going to be the most owned quarterback so far in early projections. Then you go down to Caleb Williams against Cincinnati. That's another going to be a popular quarterback. And then everyone else in between is kind of small. I think Herbert might be popular, but he has a lot of mouths to feed, so it's kind of hard to pair him with someone. Jordan Love could look pretty good against Carolina. Cheap quarterbacks are probably going to be very popular again. I'm not going back to Stroud against Denver. It's all about opponents and their matchups and what it's looking like. And he looked great last week and he did perform. He doesn't look good this week, even if Nico Collins is in. So JJ McCarthy's going to be in over Carson Wentz, but he's against Detroit. So he didn't look really great in his first couple games, so that's a little risky. Geno Smith is dirt cheap. Cam Ward's dirt cheap. Spencer Rattler's not playing. Tyler Shug, I don't know how you say his last name. He's starting instead, but he came in last game. Didn't look anything special over Rattler. Maybe he'll be more prepared, but got some really cheap quarterbacks going on here, especially the Geno and the Trevor Lawrence. I mean, both those defenses have been played pretty bad, so you could do a lot of bringbacks and whatnot for them. Brock Purdy should be back against the Giants, so a lot of different ways you can go there. Running back, the clear chalk is looking to be Christian McCaffrey. Jonathan Taylor, his price is just getting hiked so high that he needs a lot, just like we talked about last week, which he did pay off 40. But is he going to get 3 touchdowns every single game? It's kind of like what we use in the NBA theory as well. If a guy's shooting like 70%, like, can he really sustain that? Maybe Jonathan Taylor can, but his price, like, you're paying for it. you're going to need 3 touchdowns from him to pay off that price tag. So that's why I think Christian McCaffrey, I mean, against the Giants, they've been giving up the last 3 games 163 yards on the ground. So Brock Purdy back, getting a little gingerly back into it off his injury. Maybe he's going to be dumping off. They're going to be workhorsing McCaffrey a lot. So it's no surprise he's going to be very popular. Do you go back to a Bijan that burned everyone last week? That everyone, online, he needs to be investigated. Nah, he just had a bad game. So against a New England defense, I don't know. Jahmyr Gibbs looks awesome. Does Montgomery eat some of his usage in the red zone? Sometimes, but most of the time, Gibbs still eats a lot. Jacobs might be popular. If he's not, I mean, his Q-Tab finally showed up and his usage has been going down. He used to play 70 to 80% of snaps. Now he's only playing about 50%. So James Cook against Kansas City. Kyron Williams is going to be, I think, very chalky and popular, but tons of different ways. Kamani Vidal looks really good. Tons of different ways you can go here. Let's look at wide receiver. Puka Nacua should be back. His price tag is still priced as if he never had an injury. Still the highest price, even higher price than Jamar Chase. And obviously it's because Stafford likes to target one guy. So when he does come back, he obviously looks good. Jamar Chase good though. He's averaging like 20 targets with Joe Flacco. And against the Chicago defense who's given up 200 for, let's see, 100. Where is Chicago? Let me look up Chicago, how many yards they're giving up. On the passing, Chicago is giving up, let's see, 207 yards through the air, 197 through the last 3 games. So nothing crazy. Cincinnati, on their hand, is giving up 256 yards on average and 251 the last 3. So that's why Caleb Williams is obviously looking very popular. So let's see. Amon-Ra St. Brown against Minnesota. Minnesota, the last couple games, has been giving up 50 yards on average more in the last 3 games. So they're giving up more through the air now. Justin Jefferson obviously is a great bring back, but you're going to be paying for it. Rashee Rice obviously is going to be very popular. Do you pivot to a Devontae Adams off of an coming back from injury, Puka Nacua? Usually, one thing that has burned me in the past is you see these Q tags and they're coming off injuries and you just expect that they're going to be worked in. Nah, that's burned me so many times in the past. If they are ready to play, they're usually ready to play. So don't be afraid to go to them. And then if they get re-injured, like a Mike Evans, usually when he comes back from injury, he usually gets injured the very next game. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes they do just are ready to come back and they get all of their usage back. So that's why I wouldn't really be too worried if Puka Nacua plays. I wouldn't be too worried taking him over Devontae Adams still. So many ways you could do this. Now I was looking, so having said all that, I was looking at the stacks I wanted to build with you guys. You could build any stack you want, really. You could go a cheap stack with a very cheap stack with someone like, where was he? A cheap, where the heck? Why? Oh, Geno Smith. You can go a very cheap Geno Smith because Jacksonville's giving up a ton of yards the last game and the last few games. They're both coming off bye weeks. They're at home. So Jacoby Myers should be back and Brock Bowers should be back. So it's kind of hard to decipher on who you'd want to pair him with, but you could go, like a Geno with, you could go Trey Tucker and Brock, or you could go Jacoby Myers and Brock. That doesn't look too bad. And then you do a bring back with Travis Hunter. He got targeted a lot. But Jacksonville was throwing, they were playing from behind, so they were throwing a lot. So I don't know if he's going to get targeted that much. Brian Thomas has a Q tag, but he's been trash lately, so you can't really trust him. Could do a stack like that. You could do a stack with, you could go the opposite way, go Trevor Lawrence if you really wanted to. You could go Joe Flacco targeting Jamar Chase 1,000 times every single game against the Chicago defense with a good bring back. That's not bad to get off the chalk of Caleb Williams. But he's not mobile. So he has to get there strictly on throwing. So you make sure that you pair him with someone. Aaron Rodgers against Indianapolis. That doesn't look too bad. I want to go different there. So Pittsburgh has been giving up 273 yards through the air, 290 the last three. So they're giving up almost 300 yards in the pass game. Let's see what they're giving up in the rush game. Pittsburgh on the ground is given up 112 yards on average, only 100 the last three. Now, Jonathan Taylor's an animal, and he's been eating every single game, but you're paying for the price tag. So what if you get off of that and you go like a Daniel Jones stack? And you go Daniel Jones, because like I said, Pittsburgh's given a lot through the air right now. So maybe you go like a Daniel Jones with a, let's see, I want to just choose that game. Michael Pittman. I like Michael Pittman a lot. I know a lot of people like to go Alec Pierce. Josh Downs should be there. His Q-tap's shown back up, but he didn't practice today. So maybe keep an eye on that. But either way, I'd want Pittman regardless over all of those guys. And then obviously you take a Tyler Warren with him. So how much is that? Leaves you 32,000. Do a bring back because Indianapolis is also giving up 310 yards through the air the last three. Now, every team has been playing from behind against them, so every team has to chuck. But Rodgers isn't mobile at all, so he will be chucking. And, he has three huge tight ends that he can target, but he also has, obviously, DK Metcalf, and he's not expensive at all. So that could be your bring back right there, which I like a lot. And then if you go running back, take these off. There's a lot of different ways that you can go here. Obviously, we talked about some of them. T'Chaka McCaffrey, Jahmyr Gibbs is in a good spot. Josh Jacobs in a good spot. James Cook was in the Millie Maker lineup last week because he rushed for, obviously, 216 yards, ran all over Carolina. A lot of people like to target that right away after that. So, a lot of people might be going to Josh Jacobs, but his usage has gone down. So, is he going to get as many opportunities as James Cook did? I don't know. Doesn't look like it on paper. So, a very crappy Tennessee. If you go to the defense and you go down here, obviously the Titans are ranked one of the worst. So you could go a guy that does not have anyone behind him in a Kamani Vidal. You get him. And then who else is in a smash spot? Not really smash spot, but I like to target the guys that don't really have that split. So Bijan, sometimes Tyler Algier, gets those splits. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery gets those splits. If you can hear my dog, like always in all my videos, the delivery guys. Kyron Williams doesn't really get that split. Who's the guy I was thinking of? Oh, I was thinking of Chase Brown. Samjay P. Ryan has been getting a lot of work all of a sudden. So, he's kind of scary to go to. It's kind of weird. But there's obviously a guy, Cam Scadaboo got injured. So against the San Fran, who lost their pass rusher and in Nick Bosa, and then I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but obviously they're decimated in the defensive line and the linebackers situation. So their secondary is looking pretty good. They can guard the pass really well, but I think Tyrone Tracy might get into a cheap step-in role, which is kind of nice. So maybe go something like that. That leaves you 5,100. Throw a defense in there, like I always like to do. Then that way you see what is in store for your last wide receiver and flex spot. So maybe you go something like you could go Giants for San Fran. Brock Purdy coming back. Maybe you throw some picks. You could go let's see. Houston against Denver. I don't mind that. And I don't mind the flip side of that. Denver versus Houston. I don't like, obviously, I don't like crazy high over-unders, too. Let's see what the lowest over-under is. On Sunday slate, the lowest over-under is Denver-Houston. Only 39.5 right now. By a large margin. So let's just throw one of them in there. Let's throw the Broncos in. That leaves us 6,100. Let's see. It's hard to choose a Chargers receiver because he has so many to throw to. If Ladd McConkey really is out, what's his injury right now? Don't ever trust these, but calf, so he's limited practice. He'll probably play. You have Keenan Allen. He has Quentin Johnson. Now he has Gadsden. So he has a lot of weapons to throw to. Plus, we already have Kamani Vidal, so don't really care about that. We have our bring back. So there's multiple ways you could go about this. You could go Jacoby Myers Q tag went away completely, so that's good news. And he's going to be very low owned, so I don't mind that spot. Do you go an expensive guy? Let's see what Jamar Chase goes. Then you get 3,900 in the flex. Who does that leave you? Because Jamar Chase is going to be, obviously targeted 1,000 times again. He always is, and sometimes he just gets there on volume, obviously. So that leaves you Hutchinson, DK, Ingram, Burden for Chicago. Nothing great. What if you take out Chase and we go someone like I do respect Houston's defense all around, and their secondary is pretty great. What if you go someone like a Romeo Dobbs? A lot of people are going to go to Kraft. I mean, Jordan Love has a lot of mouths to feed as well, but he really likes to target Romeo Dobbs still. If you went something like that, like a Dobbs, that leaves you flex 7,100. And that leaves you someone like Nico Collins or like a Kyron Williams. That's not a bad spot. So there's one way to look at it. Daniel Jones stack with workhorse running backs in Kyron Williams, Kamani Vidal, Tyrone Tracy. That one last week, the Millie Maker, was 3 running backs, so 1 in the flex as well. Then you got you got number 1 receiver, number 1 tight end, and you got number 1.5 to 1 receiver in Dobbs as well. So not a bad lineup. Let's clear that out. There was another one I definitely wanted to build. So if you're not familiar, which you guys probably are if you've been tuning into the shows or if you listen to any DFS at all, onslaughts. So I really want to target one onslaught in particular, and that would be a Jared Goff. I want to see how expensive it would be because Minnesota's giving up a lot of yards and a lot of points. And this divisional matchup at home, Detroit's going to want to crush them again. So onslaught, I've seen an onslaught of Detroit win the Millie Maker before last season. So I wanted to see how expensive it was. So if you went someone like a Jared Goff, and I know Gibbs always sometimes scares me because David Montgomery, they switch off possessions, but then it always still, Gibbs is still the more talented guy. He's still the younger kid. He still gets the passing work, and they seem to let him eat up still more than Montgomery. So I just want to see what this onslaught looks like. So an onslaught is, usually a quarterback +4. So if you go Jahmyr Gibbs with Goff, and then you go, this is going to be crazy. But I just want to see how expensive it is, because it's probably really expensive, obviously. So you go then you go to St. Brown, then you go a floor price of Jameson Williams because he's not getting targeted, but he has that big upside. He has that big play upside that Minnesota has been giving up. So you go him. So there is your Gibbs +3. You could go Laporta. I don't really even care to go Laporta, to tell you the truth. So you know who I would do a bring back on, though, to keep it cheap. Obviously, the bring back in your head would be Justin Jefferson. But if you do that, that's going to leave you no one for your last spots. You're going to have to go super cheap. So I would probably lean towards going a TJ Hawkinson as your bring back. And I know he's been kind of underwhelming as well, but he still gets targeted. I mean, not last game, but the game before that, he got targeted 9 times. If they're getting a lot of pressure, maybe he gets dumped off quicker. So, and they don't have the time to throw to Addison or Justin Jefferson. And it's McCarthy. So how many? Let's see. McCarthy in the early games got a touchdown with him. That's a risky bring back. But let's just see what it looks like. Tight end, running back, go workhorse in a cheap Tyrone Tracy again. And where is he at? 5,100. Throw in a defense like I like to do. Let's build it one of two ways with Hawkinson and then with Justin Jefferson instead. So let's get Houston's defense in here against Denver. And then I'll issue 5,700. That's not that bad. You could go someone like a DK Metcalf again. That leaves you 6,000 for your last spot in. Could go Michael Pittman. So that doesn't look too bad at all. And that is technically an onslaught. It's QB +3. Usually an onslaught is QB +4, but it's pretty good. Let's see what it looks like with Justin Jefferson at the realm. So you go that. Tyrone Tracy will still leave in there because he's a cheap workhorse. He's going to be your cheapest workhorse you're going to get of the weekend. He might be pretty popular, but you just eat that chalk and get different elsewhere. Like Jameson Williams, obviously, in this, he's going to be very low owned. So let's see. You go Justin Jefferson as the bring back, and then you do a cheap tight end, which you're going to have to get 2 cheap spots now. So Cole Kmet is out. So how cheap is the other guy? Is he out? Questionable. Limited participant again. He missed last week. So let's say if he is out and you go, where the heck's his replacement? Loveland. Oh, he's a little bit more expensive, but he's pretty cheap. Leaves you 3,800 in the flex. And that's going to leave you with a can't go Burden. Tennessee, don't even know how to say his name, is targeted 8 times, and Calvin Ridley's most likely out. So he could get a little bit more targets if they're obviously playing from behind and going to have to chuck a lot more. Although Chargers secondary is pretty good. Justin Higgins again. Parker Washington for Jacksonville. Either way, a lot of different ways. You could see if you do Justin Jefferson as the bring back in this Goff stack, it's kind of, you got to get cheap elsewhere. So that's another stack that you can look at. Last stack I wanted to build with you guys. If you're still here, thank you so much. Hit the like button if you can. It was fun. It came to me as I was looking at it. So Patrick Mahomes is going to be the most popular quarterback on the slate, most likely, right? Buffalo and Kansas City rematch every year. They want to kill each other. Kansas City is Josh Allen's bugaboo. But who can you trust on Buffalo besides Josh Allen? And James Cook, honestly. But if you are trusting James Cook, how many yards has Kansas City been given up on the ground? Only 100 on the season, 61 the last 3 on the ground. So they're really stepping up, stopping the rush. Plus, James Cook coming off that huge game. Can he sustain that? He's just a good player. So sometimes you just play good players in good spots. Now, I wanted to do this. A lot of people are going to be Patrick Mahomes stacks, most likely. I want to do a Josh Allen naked with, and I tell you, everyone might seem you're crazy, with a wide receivers coming back from the Kansas City side. Now, like I said, both these teams want to kill each other at all times. And if they get into the red zone or if they get on the goal line, Buffalo in particular, he does not have a receiver that he is 100% confident in. Even though it looks like it's Khalil Shakir, it's supposed to be Keon Coleman. It's not. And it's Dalton Kincaid. Is he still injured? Dalton Kincaid usually is the guy that he trusts the most, and he's back. So if I was to stack someone, I would with him. But look at that. He only had 3 targets, only 1 reception. They didn't have to because James Cook ran all over them. But Josh Allen naked with bringbacks from the other side seems really interesting to me because I could see Josh Allen running the ball in three times for the touchdown because he wants to take matters into his own hands, and this is the team that he wants to kill every time he sees them. So, and then if you do that with Patrick Mahomes spreading the ball out, but mostly it's starting to get more condensed with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. And Xavier Worthy's at a dirt cheap price right now. It's going to be very low owned because everyone's just going to assume it's Rashee Rice. So if you do something like that with a Worthy, man, it does not look bad. Plus, you could throw in James Cook if you really wanted to, but only giving up 60 yards the last few games. That looks a little risky. So what if you did something like Kamani Vidal? I really like him against Tennessee this week. And then you go a Kyron Williams looks really good. McCaffrey, you could eat the chalk and go there, but it's going to be expensive because you have Rashi and Josh Allen. So you could go. Obviously, I'm going down. I'm obviously going down to Tracy again. I don't want to use him 3 times though. Jalen Warren doesn't look too bad. Look how cheap Travis Etienne is against Vegas, coming off a bye. I mean, he hasn't been getting great points, but he's just so cheap. You can't go Dowdle because it could be Chuba Hubbard. Can't go Ramondre Stevenson because it could be Trevion Henderson. Can't really go Woody Marks against Denver. Chase Brown, like I said, P. Ryan's getting a little bit more touches taken away from him. Same with DeAndre Swift. Ashton Jonty doesn't look bad. I'm going to go Kyron Williams and see what it looks like because he looks like he's in a good spot. Kyron Williams. Then you throw in a cheap tight end again. When I say cheap tight end, I mean, obviously I want to get these guys. I like Bowers to be low owned and come back and look really good. So I really like that spot. Gadsden might be way too high now because Justin Herbert has 1,000 guys to throw to now. So he might be way too high. Tyler Warren's going to be very popular. Tucker Kraft is going to be very popular too, but also has a lot of mouths to feed over there as well. So hell, maybe you go Dalton Kincaid. I wanted to do a Josh Allen naked, but maybe you go Josh Allen skinny with the bringbacks. And then you throw in a defense. Let's throw in a cheap one that doesn't look too bad. Minnesota looks bad. Saints look bad. Carolina looks bad. What's the first one that doesn't look horrible? Probably. Oh my gosh, these are pretty bad. Houston really is like the cheapest one that doesn't look too crazy. Raiders against Trevor Lawrence and a bad Brian Thomas right now. Let's just throw in Raiders, see what that looks like. It leaves you 4,900. What's also the cheapest receiver I'd want to go? I'll tell you, if Brock Purdy's back, Juwan Jennings looks really good. So let's throw him in there. He's going to be low owned too. That leaves you 5,600 in the flex. There's Travis Etienne. Keenan Allen doesn't look too bad. He still gets his targets. I mean, he still gets 14 targets there. Like I said, a lot of mouths to feed there. DK Metcalf, obviously, we really like him. Look at that lineup. Pretty sick lineup. Josh Allen, skinny with a Dalton Kincaid. Honestly, for being truthful, that is his number one target most of the time. So, and historically, tight ends against Kansas City is the way to go. And then with the 2 bringbacks, I think Worthy's going to be low owned, but just in case you get both of his looking like more condensed receivers, he's kind of phasing out Hollywood Brown, and Tyquan Thornton's an afterthought. He doesn't even see the field anymore. And Juju Smith sometimes gets some little slants, but most of the time it's these 2 guys, plus obviously a Kelsey. Kyron Williams doesn't look too bad. Kamani Vidal's in a crush spot. Really like him. And DK Metcalf is in an awesome spot against Indianapolis. That's a pretty sick lineup. The Jennings spot is the wild card. I would play him, and I would really like him if he is in if Brock Purdy is in this week. So not a bad lineup. I'm definitely going to probably lock something in like that. I am going to be finishing my projections and my ownership projections as well. And I will have that ready. And here is a little sneak peek of my DFS cheat sheet. This does come out on Saturdays. And that way I can lock down the projections for ownership and points and get as late as news as possible for injuries. Usually they happen Friday afternoon most of the time. And then that way I can put this out Saturday morning, and then we give updates in our Discord. So get this cheat sheet, get all of our locker picks. We went 5-0 in NFL last week, and we went 5-2 in college. Awesome week. I went 5-0 in my props, and we give out daily picks. Obviously, this cheat sheet and all this dirt cheap price, $6.99 a week or $19.99 a month. Basically, at 2 weeks free if you sign up for a month. So win together as cheap as possible. That's why I wanted to do that. And you get access to our Discord channel where all of our members talk sports. Obviously, you know how Discord works. And we also have been crushing and cashing tickets in there as well. So that's it, guys. Go ahead and join at thebetlocker.com. Get our cheat sheet. And this will be out Saturday. and like and subscribe on your way out so you can see all my videos. And we'll do a Thursday prop video tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the support, and we'll see you guys. Hey.